Hello, you're listening to Storytelling Saga, the podcast that shares stories. I'm your host, Allie, and this week I'm so excited to say that I am joined by storyboard artist Kelly Hobby. Welcome, Kelly.
Aloha.
I love that already. Yeah. So, if you care to share where you're currently located from.
Currently I'm in Oahu, but I live on the Big Island. I'm kind of commuting, island hopping, commuting right now.
Oh man, that's really awesome. I love that. Oh my gosh. I have to visit Hawaii. I really want to someday for sure. So it must be amazing living there, honestly. Oh my gosh.
I know everybody's like, "Oh wow, you live in paradise." It's like, well, if uh, if you gotta like work somewhere, you might as well work in paradise.
Oh, absolutely. I hear you on that. So you and I met actually at Pasadena Comic Con, which was so much fun. So I'd love to actually start there, Kelly, and just kind of when you got into the whole convention circuit and stuff like that.
Well, I've kind of been in the circuit off and on. Uh, I actually started originally doing like conventions and pop-ups during COVID. Is when like I kind of made my s step over to Hawaii, and I actually created a Hawaii slash tiki inspired line of designs for children's clothing. And I sold clothing, apparel, and home decor in those pop-ups. And so like I did that, and then like when kind of like the streaming bubble happened and it popped, then that's when I kind of went into creating comics and then took that to the conventions.
Oh, that's really amazing. I love that. Like so creative, so cool. Oh gosh, that's what kind of like fabric and like what's the process with that then, creating clothing and all that?
Well, I found a place kind of there's di different companies you can go through that you can send your designs and they'll print it on different types of fabric, and you
Okay.
can get that like by the yard or whatever. And then like I would make like baby blankets, and then like I'd actually I got like the cricket thing, and then I got a glow forge so that I would like burn my designs in like cutting boards and different like flatware.
Oh wow. Oh amazing. So like all this kind of versatility to it. That's really cool.
Right.
Nice. That's awesome. So I'd love to hear though now like going back. So I'd love to hear for you growing up and like what inspired you as an artist, whether it was favorite shows, movies, other artists, that kind of stuff for you.
Well, I think like a lot of people, like we grew up on Disney, and when I first saw like The Little Mermaid in the theater, so I'm probably dating myself, I was like, I want to be part of that magic. So like ever since then, and probably even before that, I've been like drawing since I was 5, but really didn't have a target of what I wanted to do until like I really got and I would make my parents wait through the end of the credits so I could like study like what everybody's job was.
Oh wow. That's really amazing. So what specifically did you gravitate toward then? Was it then storyboard artist things or was it like the ink and paint, that kind of stuff?
Well,
Or
I really didn't know what storyboarding was at that time. There wasn't really a lot of like information about it, but mm, looking back at like some of the drawings and stuff that I did, usually recognize that it was like the precursors of storyboarding. And that's why like I went to college and I was like, I want to be a storyboard artist.
when you were doing all that, was your goal like I want to just work on a bunch of shows, or was your goal I want to create my own show someday?
No, I just wanted to be part of that magic. I wanted to, create the illusion of life, and tell stories. I don't think I've ever, you know, had the passion where like I want to create my own show. I mean, like if it ha happens organically, that'd be awesome. But I always loved that animation was like everybody kind of fed off of each other, and because of that, it just made it so much better.
Yeah, because I know everyone kind of contributing their own, I guess in a way like their own experiences, but in their own like styles, like not one size fits all, obviously. Like everyone kind of has their own unique take on it. So then for you, did you have like a certain, so you mentioned Little Mermaid, would you say that was like your favorite Disney movie or like your favorite character, Ariel, or
Uh, it's not my favorite movie, but it was just one of those films that like kind of like flipped the switch for me. And that was like,
Mm.
this is what I want to part of basically I want to be part of the magic. You know, Disney sold us all on this magical trip. So like every time you see at the beginning of a movie, you see the magic castle and you see Tinkerbell fly over it, it casts a spell over you that you're like, be part of that.
Absolutely, yeah, it like transports you and then like in a way it's like back to childhood and like that magic and wonder. Yeah, I totally agree with you there. It's just like there's nothing else like it in a way, like that feeling, that sense of magic. It's so true. So then for you, then going to school, then what was your first job like out of college? And then like did you have to apply to a bunch of places? And like how did that work for you? Transitioning then into like your first career in the field in animation.
Well, in in my journey, I didn't go from A to B. I kind of went A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So like I didn't have the money to go to art school, so I joined the military. I joined the Air Force, but I tried to find something that was as closest to what I wanted to do, which was a videographer. While I was in the National Guard, I was going to art school at the Academy of Art University in San Francisco. And then in my senior year, I got an internship at Disney Interactive, which no longer exists, but they were down in Glendale. And that's what brought me down to LA.
So then what was your first, I'm sure like you did a bunch of studios, obviously. Like I know you worked like, for example, Disney, Nickelodeon. What was like some of your favorites throughout that journey for you?
Well, I have to say, I want to give a lot of credit to Mike Young Productions, which is now Splash. Well, it went from Mike Young to uh, Moon Scoop to now Splash. And I really liked it because it was a small studio and it actually gave me my first break in. And I got in a way that a lot of people don't do anymore, which is like just a cold drop off. I just dropped my portfolio off, and one of the producers called me back and said, "Hey, I really liked your drawings. I think you'd be a good fit for the show we're working." Brought on as a revisionist on Chloe's Closet, which is primarily like a British show.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Oh, nice.
Yeah. And then I was there for like a little over a year, which I basically worked until there was no more work kind
Hmm.
of thing, which kind of happens in smaller boutique studios. It was non-union, but it paid and I felt like I was like part of something. And because you're working at a small studio, you get the opportunity to wear a lot of hats. And so you get to find out if that's what you're good at or you want to like go in a different direction, like writing or art design or props. So you get to do a little bit of everything and then you figure out what you really want to do. But for me, it was great to do that, but my heart has always been in story.
Okay, yeah. So for you, then you'd say you lean more towards the character-driven writing as opposed to say like doing backgrounds, that kind of stuff.
I really preferred the scripted narrative and being able
Mm.
to interpret that, but also
Okay.
being able to push it beyond its boundaries. I really pushed the outsourcing studio in some of those shots because they were working in Flash, I believe, at the time.
Oh, interesting. Okay. When you say
Yeah.
pushing it, do you mean, what do you mean by that exactly? Like just kind of doing d different moves for the characters, or do you mean like,
Pushing the poses, pushing the types
okay,
of like camera angles and moves, especially for a preschool show.
Oh, interesting. Okay. That's really cool. Kind of thinking outside the box and like seeing how far you can go, I guess, with the technology
Right.
anyway.
Yeah,
Hmm.
without breaking their systems or breaking the rigs.
Okay, interesting. Okay,
Yeah.
very cool. So then also I'd love to hear, taking a step back from all this a little bit, what like the kind of tools you use. Like so you mentioned Flash and I guess like certain other things you like do you have one that you personally prefer for yourself when you're creating this stuff?
Uh, my go-to is Storyboard Pro. Even when I'm not boarding, when I'm doing like illustrations, I draw it in Storyboard Pro, and sometimes I bring it into uh Photoshop, or then bring it into I've just started experimenting with Studio Clip. Uh, you know, uh, there's always new software popping up, so I'm just trying to get familiarized with it. But my go-to is always been Storyboard Pro.
Okay, interesting. You find it because it's just more user friendly or it's just like what's yeah.
I find that I have more control. I like the brushes better, and that I can control the brushes like a vector. I feel like I have more control over the actual brush stroke versus in uh Photoshop, where it's rasterized. Um and then like you just have to redraw it instead of being able to take the line and manipulate it like a vector line.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Because I mean, obviously, like the whole thing is like about the artistry of it, but then like there's the whole technical side of it too. So that kind of
Yeah.
plays. That's yeah, that's really interesting. So then you mentioned that basically it's like you work until there's no more work. Like for instance, like when the season's done with a job, then it's like kind of moving on to the next one. So then it's a matter of kind of starting at square one in terms of just applying to different jobs, or like how did that work for you going from like different studios or different jobs?
Well, I got super lucky that like after my stint at Splash, I probably had like maybe a year gap in between, which was fine because I was actually getting married, and I could work. I spent that time planning and creating our kind of like wedding little golden book kind of thing, and I kind of use that as a portfolio piece. It's kind of like a program, but I made it look exactly like a little golden book. And
Hmm.
then I got a job at Disney TV, and I was there for 10 years.
Oh,
So,
nice.
so yeah, and then in between there I did freelance for a couple of other things. I worked at Nickelodeon over COVID, on the Loud House movie. I did a couple of Veggie Tales, but the extent of my career, it pretty much was at TVA.
So then also, I'm curious to know in terms of working on, for example, TV shows versus a feature, because for instance, I know you worked on How to Train Your Dragon. Do you find like, is it different in terms of, say, the budget, or is it like similar process? I'd love to hear just kind of like the comparison with that, like TV versus film, basically.
Well, I said the majority of my career has been in TV,
Hmm.
which is just a faster pace. You have basically on board, you have a 6 week turnaround, and with you know, feature, depending on the sequence, you could have 6 weeks or like a month. And sometimes you're working with another person to like hook up with, and you're just doing little sequences instead of like the whole thing. Um, and then you also get to be in like with other board artists and throw ideas around. And then TV, you're kind of just put in a cubicle and say, work. So it's kind of like
Hmm.
being in a tunnel, and like you really don't have time to think about your shots, or you know, it's more just like, throw it up on the screen and see if it works. That's why a lot of times people that go from feature to TV have a hard transition.
Oh, is that right? So feature TV, because feature, I assume it's like they can kind of have a little bit more breathing room in that sense in terms of the,
Right. Yeah.
yeah.
Depending on the
Okay.
production. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Something else I'm curious about in general, in terms of working on all these different projects, is kind of how you adapts to different art styles? Does that just like come naturally to you of like knowing how to like adapt to like specific art styles and that kind of stuff?
Well, that's the thing that I kind of prided myself on is
Mm.
that with starting out as a revisionist, your job was to not stand out. You had to make it look like there was no revisions at all. So I would go and I would try to match the brushes, or I would even ask the board artists for their brush, and then
Mm.
I would go and like make the revisions, and it would look seamlessly like there was no like it was done by the same artist.
Makes sense having like that uniformity, obviously, for yeah, for the
Right.
project.
Yeah.
So then with all these projects that you worked on like over the years, do you have a favorite?
I would say my favorite was Alice's Wonderland Bakery because I got to focus on the songs, and that
Oh,
was a lot of fun.
so kind of like more flexibility in a way in terms of like being able to like really express more with the characters, I would think, obviously when they're singing and that kind of stuff, right? Like in musical numbers.
Yeah, with songs, you don't the action doesn't have to be as linear, as
Oh,
straightforward. It can be like a montage or like more like dreamy kind of thing where like they do things that they would no not normally do in like you know, in the regular show.
gotcha. So then also I want to ask you, because obviously having all this experience in the industry, how you've seen it change over the years. Because obviously, for example, COVID, that was like them people working from home. And then now the state of the industry is, different than what it was even from then. So I'd love to hear like your perspective on all that.
Um, it's it's a double-edged sword. It is definitely different than what it was when I started. When I started, it felt more like a family. We would have get-togethers, we'd have potlucks, and as the years went on, it seemed like the corporate hand got more involved, and just like there was less meetups, there was less studio culture. It became more less of like an experience and more of a job, I guess, is the best way to put it.
Okay. Yeah, kind of
Yeah.
just producing content and that's it. And like that's yeah.
Pretty much. I mean, like you would like, you draw for a living and like the one thing that you would love to do, you would like not want to do when you got home, basically. And also like I mean, the people were the best part of the job, but it did also seem that, especially towards the end, especially after COVID, with people coming back, um, it just became a little bit more insecure and a little bit more toxic. It just started becoming more corporate.
I was gonna say obviously it sounds like that just starts from like the top down and like frankly corporate greed
Yeah,
and
absolutely. Whoever's in
okay.
charge
Mhm.
sets the tone for the studio. If you have good leadership and leadership that respects the people that, are making the product, then you're going to have that everybody respect each other. If you don't have that, like at certain studios, you'll find that in the employees down the line.
Right, makes sense, sadly. And I mean, frankly, elephant in the room is the whole thing with AI now kind of trying to take over. I mean, I don't know, it is in a way. So like I'd love to hear your thoughts on that too and how that's like affecting the industry as well.
Well, this was happening for a while now. It started with, and that's been happening for years, and it's kind of revved up even more since COVID. And so now, when you add AI on top of it, it just like fans the flames pretty much, which means that they can do more with less, which makes competition more fierce, and which creates more toxic environments.
Yeah, like taking over and then it's like
Yeah.
fewer jobs for actual
Right.
artists.
And it's like you almost have to ask yourself, is this what I want to do? Do I want to you know, be in this situation where you're basically treated badly, made to work all these extra hours and not get any like appreciation for the work. And just like in the name of whatever studio you work for, you should be lucky or you should be grateful. So that's why a lot of people are switching to indie uh,
Mm,
because of that.
exactly, because it's like, why answer to like, why have this toxic environment for yourself when all you want to do is just that takes away then the creative magic of it all, obviously. And that's just like counterintuitive and that's sad to think. But then it's just like, well, then no, just go out and make your own stuff. But then it's a matter of, well, then I need to make money. I don't know, obviously all these because
It is harder because you're like,
Mhm.
and I found this with my own pivot. You know, you won't make as much money. Nobody's going to pay you LA union rates. I mean, like even the studios don't want to pay LA union rates. That's why they're going to Canada. But I guess like, would you rather make more money and be miserable or make just enough to be live or like downgrade like your lifestyle so that you can be happy?
Exactly, exactly. And it's like, it's like for your overall well-being and mental health at the end of the day. So
Oh,
that's
absolutely.
totally. Oh my gosh. So then to that point, of course, with indie animation, obviously then when you and I met, I was at your booth and then I saw all of your lovely artwork that you did for Hell of a Boss, such a wonderful show, of course. So I'd love to hear like how you first got into that show and then what inspired you creating your own comics for it and all that fun stuff.
Well, it is interesting. Like, I was in a pretty low spot when I found everybody has their own story of how they found the show, kind of thing. And I was at a pretty low spot because I had never heard of this because I was so under the studio rock that, I had no idea what was going on around me in the world. So like in 2019 when like I guess Has Been Hotel pilot came out, you know, I was just getting off Elena of Avalor, you know, and I wish I would have known that like they were about that or about Vivian and like what she was doing, or I would have jumped at the chance to work at that. But unfortunately, I didn't know any of this stuff until like uh 2023 when my son was telling me about like digital circus and all this because he's like a YouTube junkie. He doesn't watch regular like streaming shows. He just watches YouTube, which is another thing that the studios are having a hard time grasping is like, we don't get this new audience. We don't know how to entertain them. Um, and so when I started watching that, and then I went down the rabbit hole and I found Has Been, and then I found Helva. And I was just like, wow. I mean, I like Has Been, but something about Helva like really connected with me. And like I really liked how outside of the box that the stories were. And that like, yes, it's about two gay demons. But I mean, you don't necessarily have to be gay to get that story. It's just it's a show about relationships. And I really something about it really glommed onto me and I just got inspired because before that uh Alice ended in the spring of like 2023 and like I really like took it personal when they canceled the show and it took me like a year after that of not drawing anything, and then when I found Helva, I was just like, wow, I'm kind of like picked up the stylus again. And so like that's when I just started playing around with the characters and you know, um, some of my friends at the time said, "Oh, that's really cool. You should like apply to or you should be working on the show." And I was like, "You know what? I should be working on this show." And I come to find out that like most of the people on the show have never worked in animation. I'm like, how did they get so good? It's like because they grew up with YouTube. That's why. Um, they had access to all these tools and like that we older folks didn't. But like, yeah, so and then I found out like a lot of the people that got hired on the show got hired by doing fan art and posting it on X. So I was like, well, and like the networking of like indie and networking for studios is so completely different. So I had to kind of reinvent how I networked because like indie is such a niche thing and it's mostly done by a group of friends on Discord. It's like a year ago, I didn't even know what Discord was. So it was just like I'm finding all this stuff out and it's like this whole other world. And I'm just like, wow, this is really where the future of animation is going because
Mm.
it's not going anywhere at the studios. You know, they have no idea what they're doing. And in this, they're telling stories that people want to hear, not just recycling the same stereotypes over and over again. So, and also like I really glommed on it too, because when you work for a studio for so long in one type of genre, you get pigeonholed into like
Oh,
that's what you do. So I got stuck into the you do preschool shows, you do girl preschool shows. I'm like, I just don't do preschool shows. That's just the jobs that I happen to take. Um, but I can draw boy shows. I can draw anything you want me to draw. I'm a work for hire, you know, uh, you know, stylist slinger. And so like I needed something because like when you're working all the time, you don't have time to work on your own stuff because everybody's like, oh, just work on your own stuff, work on your own stuff. But when you work like 8, 10 hours a day drawing somebody else's stuff, the last thing you want to do is go home and draw your own stuff. And you know, most of the time, unless like you're wanting to be a showrunner, which I was perfectly fine being a cog, you know, being part of the process. You know, they're gonna hire you to draw in their style. So I was like, I really haven't figured out my voice. Spent so long studying other people's voices and matching it. So I thought to get on this show, what I need to do is I need to study it and I need to produce it in a way that can show them, hey, this is what somebody with like over 10 years of experience can do with these characters. So that's what kind of got me into that. And then at first it was just drawing like little short comics. And then I kind of found out that I really liked the tone and I kind of found the characters' voices and I was able to write for them. And I was like, well, working at Disney, I never got a chance to write because it was all here's the script, you know, see you in 6 weeks. And I really enjoy writing for them. And from then I've produced like 10 different comics within a year from that and it's been a lot of fun and it's kind of been my own way of mental health
mm,
uh, because I kind of use it as a distraction from what's going on in the world. It just gave me something to focus on, you know, in
that's
a time that, you know, being unemployed and applying for everything and competition so crazy. But yeah, it just gave me something to focus on.
I know. I think that's amazing that like the show inspired you to pick up the stylus again and then like create all this wonderful stuff. That's like all you want, you know? It's like have that spark and just keep making stuff that you're passionate about. So yeah, I love hearing all that. That's really,
Yeah.
really cool. Because then, like you said, like you said, getting pigeonholed, it's kind of like I could do other things, but it's like, yeah,
Well,
I
yeah,
hear
I also thought that what's the complete opposite of Disney princesses?
right, right.
Princess from hell. Okay.
That's right. Yeah. I love that. Oh my gosh. But then also going back to what you
Yeah,
said though about honestly how the new generation of kids growing up now, the viewing habits are much, much different in that, like you said, your son watches stuff on YouTube. So like that's kind of like
I
the
know.
not,
And he's like
no.
8 and watching Digital Circus. I'm like, do you know what this is really about? He's like, yeah, it's about purgatory. I'm like, what?
Oh man, that's good.
He loves horror stuff. So I was just like, okay,
Nice. I
I
love
know. And he does try to sneak to watch like Has Been in Hell, but he's like, I'm watching it. Like, no, you're not supposed to. We do like the earmuffs.
Oh
Okay.
boy. Yeah, I mean, yeah,
Because
the
I
language.
can't
That's
deny him like the beautiful animation that it is. And I'm just
right.
like, you
Mhm.
know? It's just like the subject matter on certain things is too much for him.
I hear you. I hear you. That's too funny though. Oh gosh. Has he read your comics at all though?
Yeah, yeah, he does, and I have to earmuff him on some of those too.
Right.
But
Okay.
yeah,
I'm sure he loves all the drawings and everything. So I'd love to know though, do you have who's your favorite character on Helva?
I would have to say Stolas. I think I relate more to Stolas. Uh,
Oh, nice. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I love, of course, You Will Be Okay. That song like hooked me from, episode
Oh,
two with
yeah.
Stillness singing to Octavia. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I would constantly play that for like it's like when you're like been unemployed for 3 years and like you're having to sell like the your forever house, you're just like constantly playing that in the background. It will be okay, right? It'll be okay.
Right? Exactly.
So,
It's like we all need that
so
message.
but yeah, it's you got to do what you got to do and life moves on and it's been a hard transition also because like my husband is also in animation. So when
Mm,
you have two people that are in the same industry and the industry is basically uh going down the drain, we both um we find solace in each other, that we're both feeling the same feelings. I mean, he's been in the industry for over 30 years. I've only been in the industry for 15. So when people aren't calling him, you know, then you know it's just not you. It's the industry.
right. Absolutely. Because look at all that experience. That's like crazy to hear. Oh my God.
Yeah. It's it's not you. It's the industry.
Exactly. So then, honestly, Kelly, I'd love to know, where do you see the industry heading? Do you see it just more kind of going down this not so great path, or do you see more opportunities in the future? I'd love to hear your perspective on that with the current state of the industry.
Uh well, it's going to be a more gig to gig work for hire, definitely. It that's the thing that it pains me. It animation used to be a career, you know, and now then it turned into a gig, and now it's turning into a hobby. It's
Mm.
kind of like going the opposite way, which is kind of sad, you know. Uh, and it is like it's kind of like uh grieving, um, going through the whole grieving process of like the industry. I do see it becoming more independent, more boutique studios, I think, are going to take the places of bigger studios. Um, because like they just don't know how to reach the people, and people want to have things more catered to them to to tell more stories that they want to hear. And I just don't think corporate Hollywood uh understands that, and they just wanted to just take more money. And I see Hollywood dying, um because of tax incentives in other places. They can get it cheaper. They can, um people will do it for less. I see more ageism. um yeah, it's going to be skeleton crews. It's already this way at a lot of studios, and there's going to be fewer films, but it also gives opportunities for more smaller studios to fill in that gap, like open source like Blender and stuff. And I makes it easier for smaller studios to do what big studios do. But like I said, on the reverse side of that, bigger studios take advantage of that, and then like they're like, oh well, I don't need you anymore.
Oh, wow. Oh gosh.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a double-edged sword. And it's more like it's not about selling your skill anymore.
Mm.
It's about selling who you are.
Okay. Yeah, makes sense.
And so if you're not a name, you're probably not going to work at the studios because people don't care like who makes their content. They just
Right.
care that there's content. Until the studios, until people educate the audience why it's important to know who makes your content, uh, nothing will change.
Okay, yeah, makes sense. All right, so it's like, it's
Yeah,
kind of just
sorry to be like dark and
no,
doom, but like it,
no,
I
it's
think
like
it's better to be educated on like um, you know, what's happening than say everything is like hunky dory.
no, exactly. No, I appreciate like your honest, candid perspective because it's basically like adapting with the times as things
Yeah,
evolve.
you, you
Yeah.
you you have to evolve or die. And
Yes.
the same thing happened when everything went from 2D to 3D. You had artists that were able to adapt, and then you had artists that could not adapt. And they basically that was the end of their career. The only difference is at that time studios had programs to help people make that transition. Now there's nothing to jump to. You would go from 2D to 3D, but now there's nothing to go to. And the studios are just like, bye. Good luck with that.
Hmm.
So, yeah,
That's just frankly sad. They just don't care. Like, they
yeah,
just don't care. I
yeah.
don't.
And I mean, like, there is ebb and flow to like the industry. Like, you'll have down times, and like, I guess in the early 2000s, uh, it was pretty low, and then it started going back up. And like, I guess I was lucky that and my husband Sean was lucky that he affect but it does, but this is like even more so because it's more like based on the whole industry, not just like studio to studio.
Right, okay. Yeah, because then like you said, at least like with these more niche markets and indie animation, it's just kind of a matter of like getting your foot in the door in that sense with that. So like obviously for you having all of these awesome comics for Helva, which is really cool. So is your goal then like to eventually like be
Yeah,
a
and
story artist on yeah.
oh, I was just gonna say the same thing's happening with live action too. There's no like mid level anymore. There's either high level or entry level. There's nobody in between.
Uh-huh.
And also the studios are losing so much generational knowledge, but they don't care. They're just the short term gain.
Right. Uh-huh. It's like just produce content and we don't like then buy like it's like oh gosh. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, so going back to Helva, because like I could always like talk about Helva all day though. So then I know you had mentioned though like you had that Vivian Madrano had seen like your comic, which is amazing. So then like hopefully the goal then is like you'll be able to work on that show someday too.
Yeah, I would love to work on that show. I actually took a story test for them a while back. But they were only looking for action boards, and like when you're a board artist, you're basically an actor with a pencil. Uh, you are cast the same way. Like some people are good at action, some people are good at drama, some people are good at comedy. I'm good at comedy, drama, and musicals. I'm a little bit weaker in action, but like I took a stab at it. Uh, and they decided not to go with me at that time. But I mean, that doesn't mean that uh, the whole goal was just to get people to know my name and that
Mhm.
I'm out there. And she definitely knows of me. I've seen her, talk to her a couple of times and stuff like that. I have friends that work on the show that like have been on the show from the very beginning. And I mean, they're amazing in their own right. And I'm just like kicking myself over and over because I was like, I could have got on the if I just knew the show existed when it first came out. And now
Mhm.
it's like, now everybody wants to get on the show. And so there's a lot more competition. And it's basically, this the stable is full, and you just have to wait for, you know, a time when there's a spot and it probably won't be on Helva because Helva is going to wrap up in season 4, but that doesn't mean that there's not going to be spin-offs or other stuff. And if the opportunity comes, yeah, I would love to work with Vivian uh in the Helliverse because I think what she's built is something that can basically it's a career setter. Like you would you could jump from story to story within the same universe, pretty much. And I'm sure she'll work on some other projects and stuff. But yeah, it would be fun to one day be able to work on a project with her
Yeah, that's awesome. I
or
think
any of the other great artists that work on the show.
totally. Yeah, I think that's obviously like the best positive outlook to have. Like obviously you have the talents and it's just a matter of like when the opportunities come. So even though it's kind of like you
Yeah,
said, the ebb and flow of it all
yeah.
with this
You
industry.
you,
Mhm.
you just have to think of it like it's not you. It's just, being in the right place at the right time kind of
Totally. Because that's where I'm at similarly, like in my career pursuing TV writing. It's like my friends of mine who are reps can't even get jobs, and it's like they're doing their own stuff on the side. 'Cause again, it's going back to like, what am I passionate about? It's like, okay, then I'll make it myself. And people are kind of like actually producing stuff on Instagram, for example. So it's kind of like just putting
thing.
your own stuff out there and seeing like how it can grow an audience, you know?
Yeah, it's kind of like and that's why like I find Vivian very inspiring to like kind of like break that ceiling a little bit of how indie works, because there's such a stigma within the studios of indie, of like being, oh, it's just like fan stuff, it's not professional. And like this kind of like just took it and just said, wait a second, we can be just as good, if not better, than what you're producing. And believe me, I've seen a lot of stuff at the studios, and like what indie is coming out with is like can uh you know give them a run for their money. And I think that's what they're scared of, is that these indie studios are going to be coming like Glitch and Spindle Horse. They kind of came out of nowhere and are making these deals, but they're making it because before, when you like shopped your show around to studios, you're basically selling it and they give you money for it, or they buy it and they shelve it, kind of thing. And you basically lose all creative like rights to it. They can do whatever they want with it. But the deals that they're striking are so unique that like they're basically just using the studios as like distributors, and they keep all rights and they keep all creative control of their property. And
Hmm.
then like to be able to like, you know, show it on the platform and then also show it on YouTube, that's unheard of. So it's definitely changing the game. And I don't think a lot of these older studios like it.
Hmm. But again, it's like having to adapt to it all. Yeah.
Right.
Interesting. That's interesting. Because obviously, yeah, because with Helva, it's still on YouTube, but now also on Amazon Prime and then with Has Been Hotel as well.
Right.
So,
It's just really helping them broaden their audience too, because
mhm.
the whole thing with Prime is to be able to have it translated into all these different languages that they didn't have the power or the funds to do. So that's huge, of like expanding your fan base.
Totally. Something else, actually, I want to go back to now, because you had mentioned obviously that getting left behind, for example, of going from 2D to 3D, then like, because now nowadays, pretty much I know there are some exceptions, but everything is like CGI and not really 2D anymore, especially in films. There's like no more, I can't remember the last feature length 2D film. Bob's Burgers, for instance, but that was like, already a well-known property. But
Right.
I'm curious if you, from your perspective, if you see that eventually coming back around to like 2D or if we're just like fully CGI and 3D animation and everything.
Um, it'll be something that people will always want to see and have that taste for, but it's not very depending on the software that they use. I mean, this whole debacle with uh Adobe Animate going on, I think they just shot themselves in the foot.
Hmm.
Because as soon as they said that they were taking it off the market, all these other like alternatives are like say, flooding the market with, hey, we'll give you discounts,
Hmm.
you can have this license for life, or like, because the whole thing Adobe saying that like, oh, we're no longer going to support this, and then you're going to lose access to all your like. Some people that's the only software they've ever worked in. You mean I'm going to lose all my work? And then of course they had to backpedal, but that just shows how unstable that they're eventually going to get rid of it. So I would, if I were working in animate, I would definitely start looking for an alternative way of animating. Because if a company's just gonna like roll you over like that, that they're gonna do it again.
Right. Okay. Oh God, it's like
Yeah,
so sad. But again, you have to be
yeah,
like kind of one step ahead in a way, would you say, with all that?
you do. And I mean, people are already working on open source 2D programs that are similar to Blender. I mean, Blender is great, but it can't get the same results as 2D.
Oh,
So I'd be interested to see like where that goes to and what the learning curve is. Because I mean, like I've been trying to teach myself harmony, and like it's kind of set up like Maya, where it's like it's great for this, but like you can do all these crazy things within it, and then like you open up the node view and you just want to pass out because I'm like it gets all technical and you're just like, oh, my artist brain can't process this. Basically, give yourself a project and pick a program and just use that to like learn it. And it's like I said, like today there's so many like YouTube tutorials, you can learn anything, which I didn't have when I went to school. So yeah, I'll definitely take advantage of it.
exactly. It's like using all this stuff to our own advantage because you might as well. It's like we have all these tools out there. It's just a matter of like what works
I
for
know.
you.
Don't go into debt like I did.
Right. Oh gosh. Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh, God. That's true. It's like you don't have to spend like thousands. It's like you can,
Yeah.
like you just said, you can self-teach, honestly. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
It goes back to again, like what are you passionate about? Okay, well, then just like follow that passion of like whether it's like shows or your own characters, like anything like that, and like kind of emulating other artists, like seeing where it all takes
Right.
you, and then connecting with artists. That's why again, like using it to our advantage, like using, for instance, social media. Like you said, like you learned Discord when you hadn't even learned that before, so that too, and like using it to your advantage to kind of network in that sense too.
Yeah. And also I might say like in addition to following your passion in that also learn skills that can be relatable in the muggle world as well. Because you're gonna have to rely on that for
Mm.
money
Yeah.
until your passion pays off. Um, a lot of us like me and my husband, like, we went into animation when it was still a career. And, when people are like, so what's your plan B? I'm like, there is no plan B. This is it, because it's so competitive, so niche. It's such a unique set of skills. It's so hard to translate that into doing something else. And that's been my greatest challenge is is to do that. Luckily, like the skills that I learned when I was in the military as a videographer and working in public affairs um, have helped me in like basically explaining how I can translate the skills I have into something that a company or something would need. Because when you just go into an interview and they look at your resume and it's got all these shows, awesome stuff that you did, they're like, I don't know what this means, you know? Um, yeah, it's just finding that being able to adapt to the situation.
Absolutely. Yeah, just kind of letting that creative spark keep you going despite the ups and downs, despite like, the daily struggles of it with life and just all that. It's just like, well, at the end of the day, it's like I just want to make things that I'm passionate about. So yeah, it's just good. You just keep following that dream despite like how much the industry has changed and like the ups and downs of it over the years. Yeah, but it's just like, well,
Yeah, because like you can take me out of animation, but you can't take animation out of me.
yes, well said, well said. So the last thing I always like to ask Kelly, like just in general of my guests, is advice. So whether that's advice you've heard over the years that really like resonated with you, or like your own personal advice throughout your career? Just any advice you'd care to share, whether personal, professional, anything at all.
Um, One, take breaks. Make sure you get the right setup, for your height and the desk and everything, so you're not hunched over. It'll save your back and
Mm,
chiropractor. Um, uh, do eye exercises. You know,
mm.
get up away from the screen, look at something close, look at something far away, kind of thing. This is what happens from 15 years of staring at a screen for 10 hours a day.
Oh gosh. Mhm.
Yeah. Also try to keep what you do separate from what your purpose and self-worth is.
Oh
I
yeah.
I had struggled with this when my show got canceled and taking it personal and thinking that I wasn't good enough. So finding that separation between work and who you are is very important. Um, See here, art to a point is subjective. So
Mhm.
uh, you might think it's great, and somebody else might say, well, it's not my taste. And it's not you, it's just subjective. Um, don't be married to your work. There will always be somebody better than you. Don't get frustrated, just use it as inspiration. And I guess the one thing that really touched me was from the uh, the Globe Awards, when K-pop Demon Hunter won like a best original song. When she went up there and she told her story, what she said really hit me hard. She said, "Rejection is just redirection." And so I really took that to heart, and I hope other people do too in these crazy times.
Absolutely. Well said with all of that. It's so true. And it can be difficult to kind of not tie your entire self-worth into your career, and especially like, in these creative fields, because it's like we're putting ourselves on the page, as it were, as they said, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? So
it's who you are. Yeah,
yes.
it's your identity, and it's
Yeah.
like when you have it taken away, it's you kind of have an identity crisis.
It's tough. Yeah, exactly. But see, even with K-pop Demon Hunters, that too kind of was a fluke in a way, because that was an original project, like, 3D animation, and that became such a huge global phenomenon with that music, like, those songs.
Well, yeah, and that's all Maggie. Maggie's a personal friend of mine, uh,
Mm.
and she's amazing, and she deserves all that credit.
I love that. Yeah, because again, so it's like you never know what could be a hit. So it's just a matter of still, it's like, just keep making what you love, doing what you love, and despite like the tough days, just kind of keep going, as tough as it can be. But yeah, whatever you're
Well,
passionate
that's
about.
why the artist community is so important. And then, like,
Mm,
the studios try to pin artists against each other when, like, we are the ones that should be supporting each other.
well said. Yeah, that's what's because it's not competitive. Like you said, everyone, it's subjective. Everyone has something else they can offer.
Right.
So why not celebrate each other? Why not,
Yeah,
that's being
absolutely.
supportive. Yeah, definitely. I wholeheartedly agree. So, Kelly, such an absolute pleasure. Feel free to share, where people can find you on social media, and your work, anything else you'd care to promote.
X or Blue Sky, or Kelly Hobby 1, or Cronma 11. I can write that up for you too in an email.
Oh, sure. Okay. I'll put it in my like show notes. Yeah, that'll be
Yeah.
great. Awesome. Such an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for your time. Truly, I really was
Great.
inspired by all
Awesome.
this.
Thank
Yes,
you so much. Aloha.
absolutely. Thank you. And with that, that's going to conclude this week's episode of Storytelling Saga. Be sure to check out storytellingsaga.com, and as always, feel free to send me any questions, comments, or writing prompts by emailing me at storytellingsaga@gmail.com. Until next time, thank you for listening, and remember, write what you love.